Yeah, Mr. Z and Fifth with your host, Mr. Z and Fifth General. What's going on, Zaccheus?
It was good, man. Yeah.
Yeah, season 2, episode 5. All right. You wanted to mention something before the show started. Go right ahead, Zaccheus.
I just want to mention my condolences to the 41st president, George Bush. It was his last Friday he passed, Friday night. He was the president, for those who don't know, from 1989 to 1993. And then when he was running the election after 93, was Bill Clinton was the one that won that election. But condolences to him and his family, man. I remember being around that time, being in 1989 around that time, and I was a kid. I was in high time. I was like I was like 14, 13, 14 time when he was president. So I didn't really pay too much on politics around that time. But at that time the neighborhoods were rough and everything was pretty rough. But that's what I can remember. But I just want to say condolences to him and his family. That's about it. Yeah.
All right. So let's get into today's topic. So what are we talking about today, man?
Yeah, man, we're talking about lean. Sipping on lean, and we also talking about the French riot, man. There's a lot going on.
Explain what lean is, because that's slang. So explain what that is.
Yeah, for those who don't know, it's syrup. It's like mixed of drugs. Young people get addicted to. It's an addiction. It's like a drug that's basically like a. They heard some of the hip hop artists getting hooked on it, and now it's like an academic. It's been spreading around the hip hop community for a while now.
So you're referring to codeine, and cough syrup. We're talking about over the counter drugs that in some places are not over the counter anymore, but used as a means to get high off of.
Yes.
Not just medicated use. That's what you're referring to. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when people get on this lean or syrup, to be honest with you, when I heard about it, it was through song music. So I'm like, what are they talking about sipping on? Sipping on what? So I'm listening to like one of the artists from back in 2013.
Probably further than that.
14.
Further than that.
Probably. Yeah.
If we're gonna talk about a very popular song that 3-6 Mafia made called "Sipping on Some Scissor."
Yeah, that's the joint. Yeah, so I'm like, that's the joint. I'm referring to.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like sipping on some scissor. So I'm thinking it's a cool drink. I'm thinking it's a drink that they just. I don't know what at that time I didn't know what it was. Because I'm thinking it's a drink that people just they go in the store and they just buy some kind of juice, and it's a famous liquor that people just brothers just buy and just sip on it. I didn't know it was syrup and codeine. I didn't know it was that. Yeah. I had no idea. And then later on, as time went on, I found out, oh, that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And they getting addicted off of that. Oh. So easy can be bought over the counter, easy. And they're mixing it. And I'm like, oh, okay. And it's sweet. So they get it. They're addicted. If you go on YouTube, you can see, like if you go on YouTube, ladies and gentlemen, whoever's listening, if you go on YouTube and you get on the YouTube and you type in sipping on lean or sipping on syrup, you'll see some documentaries on it.
Mm-hmm.
Some documentaries of people being hooked on it, talking about it, but they're also being hooked on it. Young people, 20, 21, 19. I mean, and I didn't think it was an academic until I look at some of these documentaries. I was like, wow, taken back.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, what's up with this syrup? Why is it so addictive?
Name a couple of rap artists who have made this popular in today's pop culture. Because we care about the kids, man. I mean, the adults, like I said off air.
No, it was it was Lil Wayne that was on it for, I heard he was on it, and I heard, he was on it.
Got sick off of it. Yep. A very popular.
I heard Pimp C. I'm not too sure, but I heard that Pimp C was
alleged. Pimp C.
Allegedly, yeah.
Another very popular DJ down in Houston, part of the whole slowed, chopped, and screwed movement, DJ Screw. Allegedly, they say he passed off of that.
Yeah, see.
From they say too much of a codeine overdose, but that's alleged. I don't, that's just something that they refer to. But I mean, it's just something that we've heard in pop culture, hip hop culture. I mean, it shouldn't even be in hip hop culture. It disgusts me. But it's just, and then you hear certain side effects, like certain people catching seizures off of it. That's a side effect.
Oh yeah.
Congested heart failure, like it's that deep. So
I've heard young people jump. I heard young people. I heard them say, "Well, it's addictive."
The problem now. Let's talk about the kids, man, because that's what I mainly care about. I care about the influence. So, although it's wrong, because now we're about to really take this deeper than what we even meant it to be. We know that drugs is drugs. Okay, so if people want to smoke weed, they're gonna do it. If they're gonna smoke crack, they're going to do it. If they're going to shoot heroin, they're going to do it. They're just going to do it. Sniff coke. This is just something that people's going to do. My thing is, when did all of this stuff become cool? So let's go back in history, man. Let's go back in early hip-hop history. Once upon a time, you didn't want to glorify getting high. That wasn't something that you wanted to glorify. Now, it happened in the neighborhood, of course. It happened in the streets all the time. So it's not like, drugs is older than hip hop. So we know that.
Yes. Oh, yes.
We know that. What rock and roll culture years ago, and what I don't mean early rock and roll culture like the culture that we created, not rhythm and blues culture. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about heavy metal rock and roll culture in the era of, I would say, the
60s,
70s, I would say, around that time.
Yes. Yeah, late 50s, early 60s, 70s.
Right.
Yeah.
Early 80s, Woodstock era and stuff like that.
Yes.
I would say post Beatles.
Yes.
Or it might have been around. Matter of fact, no, it was around the time of John Lennon still. You had a movement of people doing acid, LSD, and a lot of that stuff was going on at these rock concerts, right?
Yes.
Now that wasn't happening in hip hop concerts. That wasn't happening like that. Now that stuff happened later. But my thing is, we've always had. Let's go back to Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5.
Yes.
And Sugar Hill Gang and then Run DMC. Our pioneers in hip hop never glorified that. Never glorified getting high and drinking obsessively.
Oh, never.
Never did. So so we started to see as years going on. Once upon a time, that's why Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5 had a song called The Message, because The Message was a conscious record. The most popular conscious record of all time.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Still is.
Of all time. That taught you some real stuff. Sugar Hill Gang, no disrespect, but they wasn't really into that. They was about having fun and all of that. I don't have a problem with that. They didn't promote negative stuff either. They just promoted fun. But they brought us to some real stuff. Yeah. Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5. And you know what I'm saying? And so then we got to a point where, okay, we started hearing about smoking weed and dust and in hip hop. We started to hear that later on as we going on.
Yeah.
We used to hear about cats selling it, but not so much about doing it.
Yeah.
Then we used to hear about cats doing it. You know, and then, you know, the whole gangster rap era, because a lot of that came in around that time. The gangster rap era kind of brought some of that in too. You know what I mean? It did.
They did, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But you know, it's funny because even during that time, early time, Dr. Dre said, and express yourself, I don't drink beer, smoke cess. So
yes.
Dre said that. And then years later, Dre does the Chronic. So it just goes to show you. It just goes to show you the change. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
He was a little more politically charged before the Chronic. And he hasn't been politically charged since then. Real talk. Dre ain't been the same since the Chronic. I'm talking about as far as it being politically charged. And a lot of that mastermind was Ice Cube. The mastermind of consciousness and NWA was Ice Cube.
That's the truth.
And that's still being proven to this day because Cube is still conscious, even though he did movies like Next Friday.
Oh, yeah.
But he still know better. Anyway, Zaccheus, let's speak more to that. Let's speak more about before we got the Scissorb and Xannies and Mollies and Percocets. Before we get to that, what's your take on hip-hop's growth when it comes to popularizing drugs?
And
also get into the industry behind that because that's a big thing.
You see, let me tell you something. Black people we follow quite a bit. And it was a moment in time in music industry where it just went hand in hand. The history of music, it went hand in drugs and rock and roll. Going back to like the 60s and so forth like that. You know, Bob Marley always sing about weed and not always sing about, but one or two songs. But that was the Rastafarian culture.
Which is religious.
For religious purposes. You know? But now American rock and roll was more on the hard cocaine. A lot of not only just the music industry, but also stars, cocaine. You know, I could even go back to Jimi Hendrix.
Movies and all that too.
Yeah, Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah.
Rock and roll, pioneer that died of he died very, very young. It was 1970 or 71 in England. He died very young, man. And the man was addicted to drugs.
Probably the best guitar player ever lived.
He's definitely a legendary guitar player. That's a guitarist. And hands down, nobody can top him with playing the guitar. And it goes back to, I can name a few artists that got hooked on drugs. This was before the hip hop culture. This is way before the hip hop culture. You know, Elvis was hooked on drugs. Of an overdose. Many stars and artists. But how it got adopted into the hip hop culture was more like there was a thing, meaning that soul hip hop. Because remember, before we the hip hop during the golden era, during the golden era of hip hop, which was the 80s. Well, hip hop was born in 73, so I would say late 70s, 80s, 90s. We was given messages in the music, and messages in the hip hop music. But as we sold it, you know, things change in the music. It changed since the mid 90s, I would say. Mid to late 90s it changed because I'm remembering the song with from one of the Locks artists. I get high.
Styles P,
yeah. So it was a cool thing. It's a cool thing to get high, but you see, weed is not the same weed that the Rastafarians smoke. Is like weed is more like it's laced with things. So
scientific weed.
Scientific weed, like to experiment.
Mm-hmm. It's got chemicals in it.
Weed, chemicals in it. So I'm not surprised that today the syrup is experimented with. Over-the-counter drug like syrup.
Well, that is chemical.
Yeah.
Well, that is. Well, that in a sense is experimental because you're talking about mixing stuff.
Yes,
See that?
Yes, you're right. Yeah.
Smoking.
Mm-hmm.
I don't encourage. Okay, I don't encourage being intoxicated. I want people to understand this, but smoking natural weed that grows from the earth is not the same as popping Molly's and Xanax and Percocets and drinking codeine and cough syrup and mixing it with Sprite.
Exactly.
And then you call it dirty Sprite. That's not the same.
It's not the same.
It's not the same.
It's not the same.
So with that being said, what I'm saying is, what you're saying is, Styles P, when he did that song, he was specifically talking about weed. He wasn't talking about getting high off anything else. So, I mean, the hook was I get high, but he told you exactly in his lyrics what he was telling you he was getting high off of.
It's weed.
Now the thing is, you got Future, the rapper, Percocet, Molly Percocet. He's like I said off air, I said to you off air, Zaccheus, I care about what the kids do. I don't know. Yes. I don't want adults throwing their life away either, but you're an adult at that point. You're on your own. But I don't want kids being, because we hear this in the high schools, man. You got kids in the high schools drinking lean and they're talking about because of Future and all these other people, dirty Sprite and all this other stuff. I don't want to hear all that with kids. I don't want to hear that, but that's what's going on.
13 and 14-year-olds, yeah.
But look, hip hop at its core is art. So somebody can argue to me and say, well, who's to say that what he's doing is not art? That's just his art. You may not agree with the painting. You may not agree with the painter who painted the image, but it's still an image.
The image, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Good, valid point. But I, as a parent, I'm not a parent, but as an activist or whatever, I could choose whether it be detrimental to your health or not. I could choose what to call out as wrong as a means to being brought down on our young generation, on our future generation. I don't think it's cool to popularize tools and poison that can kill you.
Right.
I don't advocate for violence in music like that either. I don't. I advocate revolution in hip hop. That's different. But violence in hip hop, no. Although I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I grew up listening to Mobb Deep, you know what I'm saying, and they talk rest in peace Prodigy, but you know what I'm saying, Onyx, and and they talking about doing things, you know what I'm saying, I'm not gonna lie, but I'm responsible with that music in the sense that no matter what this man says, I'm not influenced by what he does. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I could listen to a Future song. I could listen to that song Mask Off and feel nothing. But can a kid do that? We don't know. How is this kid being raised? We don't know.
Right.
So it's all about what are you doing? What are you getting? What hands is it getting into? If you're a diabetic, you gotta chill with what you gotta eat. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
There are just certain things. And as a kid, the parents control the diet of the child.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the child, you get the point I'm making, right? You get the point I'm making.
About the kids.
About
the
kids. If you're an adult,
yes,
and you want to go out there, and that's on you. If you're an adult, but the kids. So I could say, yo, for the kids, that's not healthy. That's unhealthy. But then I want to talk about the balance in hip hop, because that's not all of hip hop. And what I'm talking about is not necessarily hip hop. That's just rap music. All of that stuff that influencing codeine and sipping scissor and all that's rap music. Now let's talk about the balance. No, imbalance. Because once upon a time, even though we had that, we still had that voice that still got into your mind, spoke to your mind, elevated your mind. That voice on a mainstream scale is gone. It's not in mainstream hip-hop anymore. Mainstream hip-hop used to include a balance of Wu-Tang and Mobb Deep and Big Pun.
Yeah.
And then and all of a sudden now it's not them anymore. It's not them anymore. You don't hear those voices no more in mainstream hip-hop. For those who know what I mean by mainstream hip-hop meaning meaning popular hip-hop that's being in rotation on the radio and on TV. That's not popular in mainstream hip-hop. I respect brothers like J. Cole and Kendrick Lamar for those voices, because they still have a career in this modern day hip-hop, and they don't rap about that stuff. They don't glorify that stuff.
They don't. No.
They still talk about the consequences of overdoing that stuff. But at the same time, they also say do what you feel, because you're an adult and you do what you want. But it's the kids, though. So, Zaccheus, let's talk about the industry, man. Let's talk about the industry. Let's talk about why they took away that.
When you give up something, you no longer own it.
Thank you. Go deeper into that. When you give up something, you no longer own it.
Now, when we at the time of the golden era of hip hop, we had one speaking about edutainment. That you can dance to our music, can dance to the music, but yet you get educated. Big up to Public Enemy. You get educated because we gave it up. Contaminated, if you know what I mean.
Okay, you're saying, and we've had this conversation before in other episodes, but this all goes down to the general point. You're saying that we wouldn't have this imbalance and this negative influence on the kids in hip-hop culture, pop culture, if our people, the creators of hip-hop, and even the pioneers of hip-hop, and the gatekeepers of hip-hop of today, if they had more ownership of the hip-hop industry, then they would be able to control the voices that are being put out there.
Correct.
That's what you're saying.
It won't be. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There won't be no people talking about mumble rap or anything like that. It'll be more of a balance. Meaning that, yes, you have your trap music, but yet you have your conscious artists.
Yeah.
Because in Caribbean culture, reggae culture, they still have although they have their dancehall artists, they also have their culture artists. Mm-hmm. Their conscious artists. They didn't get rid of the conscious artists off the airwaves. Where hip hop, it seems to me that yes, there is a J. Cole, yes, there is a Kendrick Lamar, but you don't hear them as much as trap artists.
Right. And I said,
they're not. Yeah.
And I said a while back in other episodes that the powers that be that own the hip hop industry are culture vultures, people who have nothing to do with our culture. And what I mean by our culture, not just black culture, but just hip hop culture, period. They're not in our culture, but they come in and they're able to profit off of it. And you would agree that there's an agenda behind these artists that promote this stuff, that they're being pushed up to the forefront. You would agree that's an agenda.
It's an agenda. Yes, it is. It is. So we talk about when we talk about the kids now, the kids on their downtime when they're not in school and what they listen to, that's what they listen to. That speaks louder than any academic book that they pick up. the music speaks to the kids.
Yeah.
Like how when we were growing up, it speak to us.
Yep.
So it speaks to them. They listen to that. They fashion off of it. They live. They feed off of it. So they listen, and they get influenced. Oh, you can't. I know at a moment in time in hip hop music, there was a time when people started blaming records for what the kids do. That the kids are listening to it, then whatever they listen to it. I'm not expecting a 14-year-old to listen to There may be some exceptions to the rules. I'm gonna go back to listen to KRS One or Wu Tang or Big L.
Depends on
his
exposure.
Exposure,
it
yeah.
Depends on he or she's exposure, yeah.
Yes. But how the drugs and how the lean and how the drugs got into the hip hop game, very simple. People, you have everybody, a lot of culture vulture. You have all different hands in the industry that you once owned. It's easy to get. Easy. That's very easy to get infiltrated.
Yeah. Well,
it's cool to sip syrup. They see an artist that they like, cool sipping syrup. Try it. They're gonna try. They're gonna try to find out where they get it from and how they get it, and they're gonna try and they're gonna start sipping on it. These kids influenced. They're gonna sip on it. It's not like some parents don't have the time to sit down with their kids and even talk to them, because we're living in an age where kids are more into media, meaning that they're more into their phones, they're more into plugging. They're not they're social, but not as social with their parents. Parents are not.
Well, that's the parents' fault. The parents gotta.
They're not really engaging their kids as much, because I understand that parents because parents say, well, I gotta work 2, 3, 4 jobs, so I can't be on my kid all the time. And I say this always. I said, people do what's most important. And if your kid is not most important to you, it's gonna show. Yeah, because
they'll show in their upbringing.
They're showing their upbringing, because you can't tell me that you don't know what your kid is. You don't know exactly what. You're not gonna know everything what your kid is doing, but what's he listening to, what she or she is listening to, what he or she is mixing with, or who are their friends, who are they to in school, or who are they gravitating towards, or what they're listening to. To do that, I remember, you said, what you listening to? Let me see what's on your Walkman headphones you're listening to, or let me see, you listening to Tupac Shakur? Okay. Okay, let me see what you're listening to. Okay, let me see what you're listening to. We're living in an era and an age where there's a gadget, social media era and age that sometimes is like, even the parents are hooked. Also, it's just a matter of taking some time out and taking the time off your work. Not a lot of time, maybe a day off, and just find out what your kid is into. Because, I look at artists like Mac Miller. I didn't know he was into that. I'm sure of it, but
yeah, and now he's dead.
He's gone.
Respectfully, but that's the point.
Yeah. So
how many lives? How many lives? And he's the rapper, but what about how many kids' lives that were lost due to this stuff?
Yeah, and you read some, you go online and just take a time and just browse online and see and look and read up on lean. It's not really talked about in the media. No, it's not. But it's serious. It's academic. I'm even hearing at one point. No, wait a minute. At one point, I heard lady passing away and that was maybe about 2 years ago. But she's only 17. She was attending the college, some community college, and passed because of it. Story, and it's academic, but you don't really. When death happens, people talk about it, but they don't really concentrate on it. It's these prescription drugs is you can get hooked on it very quickly. And lean and syrup you can get hooked on, or syrup you can get hooked on it. It's sweet. According to from what I heard, it tastes good. It too. And
it's also diluted, so that explains that.
Yeah, that explains
it's diluted with other. It's mixed with other stuff, so it's like when you're mixing it with Kool-Aid or soda.
Yeah.
I mean, so it gives you the illusion that you're drinking just Kool-Aid and soda, but the drug is in it. You know what I'm saying? So it's a mixing process. So that's why some people, and then it gives you like that down high, not an up high. An up high is cocaine and crack, but it gives you like a down high, weed and heroin. Those are down highs. So that's the thing there. I mean, some cat told me he did that and he felt like everything was going in slow motion. I mean, like. I don't know. Like, my whole thing is this, yo. It's scary when you don't have control. Like that's like when people tell me they done it or they know people who done it, it's like a lack of control over your body. That's scary to me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that means you lost all control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like a zombie, man. Like that right there is crazy. That's a crazy thing to get hooked on, man. But that's the kind of stuff that's happening.
Yeah, you know? People get hooked. People, you know, young people are like this. Young people love to experiment. So if they see their friends trying it, they're gonna want to try it too.
Look, we gotta hold. You know what? So I've been hearing voices all the time about, hey, how do we hold these rappers responsible? I mean, you can hold them responsible by boycotting their music. That's not gonna necessarily stop the label. So okay, then you need to hold the record label who put these people out responsible, that are responsible for it. You got to hold them responsible.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a group effort. So you got to hold the record label responsible. The record labels, when you go to who owns them, the head of them, I think this is the reason why it's not being brought to a lot of people's attention like this. I'm gonna just say this straight up. If it was an epidemic of all white kids being affected by this, then it would be more of an issue. I'm gonna tell you why I mentioned that. Because they're calling the opioid crisis a crisis now because of who it's affecting. As whereas way before that, when me and you were when you was a kid and when I was a kid, before I was a kid, the epidemic was all the drugs that was being pushed in the neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like crack and all that. That was a crisis, but we didn't hear any government prevention plans coming in to take care of that. But we have this opioid thing, a crisis, because of who it's affecting. What I'm saying is that if it affects people who matter to this nation, then they'll try to do something about it. So this is what I want to get across. And the only reason why I said that because I'm basing off evidence. I gotta base it. The only thing I can reference is the opioids thing because opioids been a problem before now. But it's because of who's it affecting. Not like, oh, okay, we gotta do something about it. Should have been doing something about it a long time ago.
Long time ago.
So maybe they're waiting for this to happen for them to affect it. Poverty been an issue forever. But if poverty is affecting upper class white America, then it's a problem. No, this has been an issue. Poverty been a problem. Poverty been a problem. The point I'm making is they wait until things happen to
your own backyard.
Thank you. So it's like this. It's like this. You got to go to these labels, man. You got, you know what I'm saying? Also, man, just dead these artists, man, that talk about this. A lot of them, man, not even talk about nothing anyway. A lot of them suck. You know what I'm saying? And then, you know, whether it be in hip hop culture or, movie culture, film culture, whatever, you know, I'm glad I don't see a whole bunch of that. I'm glad I don't see a whole bunch of movies promoting this. Because you don't. Right. You really don't. But yeah, I'm glad we not there. But I just don't like the fact that it's in hip hop music. And like I said, I care about these kids. So what's gonna happen is that if you are a rapper out there, artist, whatever, poet, and you are promoting this stuff, just understand that you're promoting death. And I'm not wishing anything on you, but I'm just saying that when you promote death, death will come full circle. That's all I'm saying. So watch what you say. Because I'm telling you, the very thing that people rap about, cats is dying off of. You just mentioned Mac Miller, right?
Yes, I did.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Look at Tekashi, man. Look at Tekashi. Tekashi, we was talking about Tekashi 6ix9ine last episode. What Tekashi raps about and promotes is now come full circle to him. He's on trial.
Yeah. Yes.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes. Yes.
That's why you got to watch what you promote.
Watch what you promote. Watch what you say. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. He's on. I mean, whatever you speak, it comes forth. Mm-hmm. Death. The Bible says death is in the power of the tongue. So
life and death.
He spoke it. Mm-hmm. Death is in the power of the tongue. So he spoke it, and now he's living it. Mm-hmm. Was one thing, and a lot sometimes the artists, they brag about things that they didn't do,
right? Or
sometimes they brag about it's just a gimmick or fad they brag about because at a certain because at a certain time in the music, it was a time where. This artist, they just keep bragging about, I do drugs, or I got shot 9 times, or just so forth and so forth and so forth. But to some artists, it really did happen. But now you want to, it didn't happen to you, but why do you want to follow on the bandwagon?
Yeah.
It's not safe. It's okay because this artist is getting high off of this, so now you want to glorify it now. Now you want to get high off of syrup too? Who should be, I always talk about originality. And also, if you're a conscious artist, stick on the conscious tip.
Yeah.
Don't try to be somebody else that you're not, because it shows. Some certain artists we're not too sure in what their life is about. The Tekashi 6ix9ine, I'm not too sure. I know you was singing about it. I listened to the music, but I was trying to understand what he was saying. All the shouting, I was trying to understand it.
Yeah,
I didn't really get too much of the too much.
He talks about gun violence in his lyrics.
Gun violence, and it talked about. I think he's part of some click. But I've seen some of the videos where he's wearing red a lot.
Oh yeah. But anyway, yeah. Let's go past that. But it just go. It's one of the things that people got to understand. But then I would say like this, man. What solution do we have to this? If we probably already spoke it. Now, when it comes to the kids, man, what solution do we have regarding the kids when it comes to this influence?
I think sometimes experience is the best teacher, meaning that if you've seen syrup or lean, or you've seen the effects of syrup or lean, try it to know if you see the effects, then you'll know not to do it. It's like okay, I'm afraid of heights. You're gonna bungee jump, or I see him doing it, so I'm gonna try to bungee jump. You know what I'm saying, or if I see someone what do you call it? Trying drugs or shooting their arms with heroin. So it looks cool. I'm gonna try it. certain things you don't have to try. You can just learn from somebody else's experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
By learning by somebody else's experience, that's the best teacher sometimes. You don't have to, and that's my message to the young people out there. You don't have to just to get the experience. Just learning by somebody else's experience can get that's to be message enough. Because the effects of your body. Because listen, we're not young forever, and I reiterate that with the young people. We're not young forever. No, at some point, it's like drugs. If you take it, you give out. The body's gonna say no more. It's gonna shut down. Can only think about so much abuse, and that's it. It's like alcoholic. They have people that drink. They have people that drink. And then when they go to the doctor will say, "Oh, your liver's deteriorating," or it looks like something that you. So I had families that passed from alcohol abuse, so I know what I'm talking about. Keep doing something consistently. It's like you only have one life to live in one body.
Yeah. So
if we keep abusing it consistently, like I heard a young man on YouTube. YouTube said, "I'm young. I'm 19 years old. I'm gonna stop drinking syrup though. Eventually I'll stop and have kids." My brother,
stop now.
By the time you're 40,
you might not
30, you're gonna be gone.
Exactly.
So I don't know what you're waiting on. But I'm 20. I'm 20 years old right now. But I guess I'll stop. I'll stop when I hit a certain age. No, my brother, you gotta stop now.
Yeah, because you might not make it.
You might not even make 25. How about that?
How old was Mac Miller, man? He was like mid-20s, right?
Mid-20s, like 22, 23 years old, around that age, yeah.
You look this up, man. This man was young as heck, man.
Yeah.
Young as heck.
I think it was like 20. Yeah, let me look at it real quick. Yeah, I think it was like, about he was a young man, not so old. About 23.
This drugs is no joke, man. And what's her name almost died, man. She in the she was hospitalized. What's that girl name? She Spanish singer. I mean, she sings in English, but she's Spanish.
Oh,
good looking woman too. Demi Lovato.
Oh, Demi Lovato, heard of her? Yeah,
right.
Yes.
Demi had a problem a long time ago in her early career where she had drugs. I ain't even know, and then she relapsed. You know what I'm saying? So she came from something, right? And she was hospitalized. I mean, she could have died. She could have died. You know what I mean? It just goes to show, man, that a lot of people out here, man, do these drugs because they're suffering. Mac Miller was 26. Okay. A lot of people will do these drugs, man, because they're suffering. You know what I'm saying? It's more than just, they're suffering. They're going through things. They're going through depression, all type of stuff. Demi never promoted drugs. I just want to make that clear. Demi never promoted drugs. I just want to make sure people understand what I'm saying. My thing is for the artist who promoted it and then passed. It's like you passed from the very thing that you promoted. That's unfortunate, and we're talking about kids' influence. Yeah. My solution is to the parents, man. The parents, you really got to get a hold of your children and know exactly, have discussions with them, talk to them about the cause and effects. I mean, that's what my mother did. My mother kept it real with me. Back then, all she had to do is talk to me about cocaine and crack and all this, and weed and all this experimental stuff, and drugs that open floodgates. My mother didn't have to talk to me about Xannies and Percocets because that wasn't what was going on when I was coming up. It's going on now. So now for the parents today,
yes, it is.
Zaccheus, you're a parent. You have 2 young kids. So now you have to include that in the conversation.
Yes.
It's more than just the simple stuff. Now it's more stuff. And as the time goes on, I don't know what the heck is going on. I don't know what drug they'll come up with next.
Because you see, the thing is that during the era of crack cocaine and heroin, and that was then, some artists, a lot of artists passed from the overdose. Rest in peace to Whitney Houston.
Oh God.
They did, and never got off. Live with that drug until the day they die.
Yeah, that's why we got our eyes. That's why we got our eyes on Bobby Brown, because we don't want to hear about. I'm glad Bobby got free from that, man.
Yes, he did.
Because Bobby could have been next. So I'm glad he got free from that. And then you start to hear about a lot of people's careers with these drugs. But like I said, these guys never promoted it. Whitney never promoted it in her music.
No, she never did.
Neither did Bobby. But it's just one of those things where, when did it become cool to be a drug addict? Because that's basically what's going on in hip hop. You're promoting being a drug addict. Before it was, you was talking about, selling coke and or selling crack, and cats was talking about how they got 2 for $5s and all that. So you had that in hip hop, and then cats was talking about doing them 2 for $5s. I mean, Biggie said in the 10 Crack Commandments, never get high off your own supply.
Your own supply.
And now these cats is getting high off their own supply, man.
Supply. It's true.
I mean, it's crazy how this became cool. Like, it's not cool, but it's just one of those things that we see.
When I was not too long ago, I was I was just looking up some Wu-Tang, and I just ran across
Wu-Tang
ODB.
Yeah,
ODB, man, and he used to get high himself.
Yep, high, drunk, all that.
Yeah, and it's like, and then he said something serious. He said, they're coming after me. I don't know what it is, but they're coming after me. They're after me, brother. And I see some documentaries where he just sat down and said, they're after me, brother.
He said,
I don't know, man.
You're right. You're right about that. And ODB is now gone. And what they found in his system was a bag of cocaine, a small bag of cocaine. They say he swallowed that because he tried to hide it. I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know.
I heard about that too.
Because that's suicide now. When you start saying that, that's suicide. That's crazy. I know that was years ago, but it just goes to show you. He needed help, man. He really needed help. He did, I don't know when he was trying to recover, but yeah. That's another thing. I think a lot of these artists who talk about this stuff, I mean, it's really a cry for help. It really is. People will call this escapism, certain drugs as escapism, to escape from the realities of this world because of what's going on. But that's not the solution, man. That's not the solution. I may not be a fan of a lot of these quote-unquote mumble rappers, but I don't want them dying. I don't want that either.
Not off of syrup. No,
not off of,
they call, no.
Not off of anything.
No drugs. No drugs.
No drugs, no violence. I don't want these cats dying, man. Because to me, they're still young enough to correct. You know what I mean? And these labels, man, I'm just disappointed in all y'all record labels, man. I don't even like this stuff. I don't even listen to a lot of new dudes, man. I listen to a lot of old school hip hop or artists that been out when I was growing up, and then they're still putting out the music. You know,
right.
A lot of times it's hard to give some of these new artists a chance because I can't take it, man. I can't take it. But you know what? The youth are the biggest consumers of rap and hip hop music. That's my concern.
Mm-hmm. They are the biggest consumers, and that's why. And I think, the youth and get them, listen to what we're saying about these things. Sometimes the best experiences is when you see others suffering from the thing. You can wheel them in. You ain't gotta test it out yourself. When you see a lot of these artists, man. The new ones today, they listen to. It's always like a fad with the music thing. They. Mm-hmm. Or if this person talking about glorifying drugs, I'm gonna talk about glorifying drugs. This artist talk about sipping on the scissors. I'm gonna talk about sipping on it too. And it's a thing. No one. There's only a few that will stand on and be like, well, Cole and Kendrick Lamar and artists who still putting out records that say that, listen, I'm gonna just keep it real, 100% hip hop. I'm not gonna just come on and just put out any. Yeah, big up to even Meek Mill.
Yeah.
The latest album was a little contra. I heard some stuff and I'm like, yeah,
because of what
Free.
Because of what he went through.
Called Free.
Yeah, because of what he went through. I'm gonna have to listen to the album because I heard there's a song that he did with Jay-Z, and Jay-Z was able to drop some jewels. He was kind of on his 444 vibe from what I heard. So I'm gonna have to just peep the album. Not really a fan of Meek Mill, but I'll listen to it real quick because we got to end this show. Mm-hmm. You wanted to talk about the riots in France.
Oh, yes.
Just explain that in like 2 minutes, and then we got to go.
There's been a gas in France. There's been a gas hike in France, and people, the cost of living, the hike in the cost of living in France. People have been protesting, rioting in the streets. You see, when you look on the news and you look at certain media, you see people dressed in yellow jackets just protesting. They're protesting. Those are workers. They're not understanding the middle class. They're not understanding the local workers in Paris. So it's like what's going on here. It's like the rent is too in certain cities in America. The rent is too damn high. Mm-hmm. The rent is high. Yeah. People can't afford things. The gas is up to the taxes on gas in France is up to the max. So right now, as we speak right now, there's riots going on in France right now.
Yeah.
Right now, people getting hurt, tear gas. If it looks like a
war zone.
What do you call it? War zone. If you might say, if you look at France right now, serious. So that's what's going on right now in France right now. I mean, it's what's going on here. Everything is every minute you're hearing something's going high. Like the in New York City, there's a they're talking about raising the transit, the price for bus fares. This transit is going to be $3. Then by February of 2019, talking about not a hike on the bridge. So what's going on in France is really serious, man. And people are tired, especially the middle working class. So yeah.
All right, we're gonna close up. Zaccheus, where can they reach you, man?
Reach me on Twitter at Wayne Bacchus 2 on Twitter. Also on Facebook, Wayne Zaccheus Bacchus. Also on Zaccheus B73. Hit me up.
All right. Y'all can get me at Twitter, Instagram, at The Fifth General. All right. Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at The Fifth General. All right, so we're going to get up out of here. This was another episode of Mrs. Z and Fifth, Season 2, Episode 5. We're signing off. We'll see y'all next time. Peace.
Peace.